Kid in a candy store. I am here. Two of the best in the business of harness racing. One, Tim Tetrick and Chris Alford. Firstly, guys, thank you very much for giving me a little bit of time. Tim, a bit easier for you because it's evening over there. Chris was just saying he's still got a couple of horses still to work here. But, mate, thank you very much for joining me, both of you guys.
No, absolutely. Orange Pop.
Chris can hear me. Chris is a little bit delayed. It's sad that Tim's over in New Jersey and it's a little bit easier to get hold of Tim than it is Chris with the wonders of the internet. Harness racing's beaming back live into America on the weekend, and I thought there's a lot of things I know, talking to some of the Americans over the journey, that you guys have a little bit of a strange way of, or don't understand exactly what we're talking about sometimes, and conversely we have an issue with you guys. So I thought, well, I'll go to the top and see who I can get. And I must say, you guys were the first two that I asked, and you were only willing to do it. So I must say thank you very much for that. And the other part I did notice just then is you do have a good little banter just then going before we went live. I wish I had hit the button early and just let you guys go. So if I ask a question and you two want to just keep talking, please, because, yeah, I'm in awe of both of you. Chris knows that as well. And yeah, what you're able to do, Tim, when I looked up your record, is just sensational. Neither of them going to talk. Are you still there, Christopher?
Yeah.
Yep, that's all right. It looked like you'd frozen. Chris Alford, like what are some of the things you think the Americans might have issue, not necessarily be able to get their head around in compared to American racing?
Compared to our racing?
Yeah.
I think when Tim and Jody, Corey and all them come over, they adapted to our racing pretty quick, really. A lot different to theirs, but when they got here, they adapted really well, and they handled it. So, racing's racing everywhere in the world. We might have different racing patterns, but, top guys like Timmy and that, they adapted, and Timmy won plenty of races when he was over here.
He definitely did. I think Dexter Dunn won the title when you three were, or you two guys were against each other, and he's gone over to America and done a great job. Talking to Anthony McDonald, one of the things
You guys can have it back anytime you want. You guys can take you back anytime you want.
Take you back?
Dex.
Chris was just asking.
Anytime you want. He wins too many races. Take him back.
He won 4 last night. He had one hit the deck. He had a bit of everything last night. Don't worry about that. It's one thing I did notice looking at your records. A pair of yours, like Chris is now Chris Alford 6,000. He hasn't changed his Twitter handle, but that's okay. He was Chris Alford 5,000. But Timmy, like you broke a record one year. You drove 1,189 or 88, depending on which side I read. Winners in the 1 year. Like, yeah, that's in 6 years you've passed what Chris has been able to do, and it's taken him a lifetime. It's a whole different world, America compared to Australia, isn't it?
It is. We get a lot of opportunity. We race, like that year. I think I drove 4,700 horses. So if you win 1 out of 4, you're supposed to win 1,100 and something. But it's a tough gig. When you go every day and stay at it. Chris is a little bit different. He's still got a few he trains and stuff, and I don't. I just drive horses every day, and that's my job, and I love it. And fortunately, I've been very successful at it. It's been a lot of fun.
You've both been very successful. I mean, a lot of us wonder over here how C. Alford actually does have time to do other things, because he does go to just about every meeting, but he is a bit of a workaholic, I must say.
Yeah, he's a machine. He's always a machine.
he's a bit bashful and a bit shyer than you and me, Timmy, I think, too. He's sitting back there enjoying it. A lot of the races that are coming across this weekend is basically you guys got nothing happening. Is that right, Tim?
Nothing. I haven't raced horse since, March 16th or 17th at Dover Downs. I raced there, and we haven't raced at all. And if anybody knows me, I want to work. I want to go race, and I love racing horses, and I haven't raced a horse since like March 16th, so I'm about ready to go nuts. I mean, this is how bored I am. I painted my manure spreader the other day.
You what?
my manure spreader, my shit spreader. You know, you dump the manure in it. I painted it because it needed painted, so I painted. That's how bored I am. I'm looking for things to do.
Have you been?
Hey, I cut down the tree and I'm making a sculpture out of the stump. That's how bored I am.
Oh, it's brutal. It's brutal. I'm looking for anything to do just to have something to do.
Have you done the egg challenge, Tim? Did you see what C. Alford done on Twitter? He done the four eggs for a great cause too. You haven't seen that and done that?
I haven't. No, I've tried not to look at too much social media myself. Just try to stay busy, and I get depressed when I see all the the bad stuff and things like that. So I just try to stay outside. We've had actually good weather, and the grass is turning green. I'm just trying to stay outside. Keep my mind busy.
Chris has been able to drive and he has some trials and all the rest. The worst part is he won't be able to take part tomorrow, Chris, which is a little bit frustrating, but at least getting our product back into America is going to be a good thing.
Oh, yeah, that'll be great. Like, we're lucky enough to get a lot of American racing over here that we can watch on a Sunday morning, so it'll be good for them to be able to see what we're getting up to.
Yeah, the difference will be that it'll be 8-horse fields, and it's a lot of people might not know, Timmy, it's going to be restricted, so we have regional racing here, so people stuck in regions. So you'll have the likes of Greg Sugars and Ryan Duffy. People won't be able to see Alford driving, which will be a little bit of a disappointment for a lot of the Americans who know him, that's for sure.
But the best thing about that is at least you get it started, and hopefully in a couple of weeks, the governments and the progresses will be able to get those people out there and get the businesses open, because we need to get businesses open and get business back to normal as soon as we can.
Absolutely. When you guys came over here, 2015 it was, for the World Drivers' Championships, Chris, you were flying. I mean, you were driving winners everywhere and you were absolutely flying, and you spent a lot of time with, like you said, Tim and Jody and a couple of guys from Sweden and the likes. Probably being a bit fair here, when you came back, or when you finished, your driving style definitely changed and you probably weren't quite as dominant for a little while, but you've since taken it to a whole new level post that, and a little bit is that due to spending a fair bit of time with these boys, is that right?
Yeah, I think that helped, and definitely buying a set of white gloves like
Wee man, come on, wee man, come on now.
More than white gloves ever since.
Did you notice when he come back out of the World Driving Championship, his lean got way farther back? He used to sit up like this, and now he's back here. So
what is behind the lean? And Chris, like, Tim being cheeky, but he's right. Like, I mean, you were driving for me, and yeah, you definitely didn't lean as much, and now you do lean. What is it with the lean, guys? Like, what makes it work?
I just think when I was racing with Timmy and those guys, like, I remember one night at Bathurst, I was in front and Tim was outside me on some horse, and about 600 I was travelling good, and his horse was all done, and he just sort of laid back, give it a couple of little flicks, put it up in the mouth, got it up and travelling again, and beat me home. And I think just lean back, gets horses feel better, travelling better, and wanting to do it more. And that was one thing I learned off Timmy, just how to get, if a horse thinks it's done, but if you can lean back, get it up travelling and wake it up, and it'll give you everything it's got. And that night at Bathurst sort of changed the way I look at things.
Did the boys give a bit of feedback too, though? Like, did you ask them about it?
He's not going to tell me his secret.
We ain't telling Chris nothing. He already knows more than we'll ever.
Did you learn something, Tim? Like when you were out here, I would imagine you would have, but like different style of racing. We race, we don't race flat miles. I mean, even tomorrow there's 70 and 100 races. And
right. Well, I learned a lot too. I watched Chris and I watched these guys. How light-handed they were. Like in America, we kind of keep them on the bits and put them up on the bits and make them like always focus. And when I watch the Australian and New Zealand drivers, or they don't always have them on the bits. They got them relaxed in the mid-mile, and and not always focusing. And then when they want him to focus, they pick him back up and make him go again. So I kind of learned that, and watching Chris there, when he does wake him up, he gets right after him. Makes it pay attention and gets to business. So I kind of learned that from them guys too.
Do you drive differently, Pup, when you're in a like a mile race as compared to a 2,300 metre race? Do you think differently when you're lining up to the starts?
Yeah, a lot of our racing, as Timmy would know, is I think a lot of our drivers over here, because we're racing different distances, like you can race 2,700 or you can race a mile, and our drivers still want to blast them out of the gate, and whether it's a mile or 2,700, where racing a mile you can sort of know what your horse can do out of the gate, whether it's 26, 27, or even go harder. But over here, our drivers, the distance, they still want to bust them out of the gate just as hard, which is probably detrimental to the horses. So that's one thing I try not to do in a longer race. Even if you want to lead, you still can't go as hard out of the gate over 27 as what you can over a mile.
But Chris, when you say like that's the new era of racing, it's here, there. If you're racing 3 miles, a lot of people and owners think the races are won in the first quarters, right?
Yeah, well, that's the major downfall of a lot of our racing. I learned from driving good horses, like when I was younger. The best way to get a good horse beat was to bust it off the gate.
Right.
And that just seems to happen so much, especially in big races. Like I remember a few years ago, there were 2 mares that I used to drive, and I was away somewhere else driving, and I thought, there's no way the mare I drive can beat the other favourite. But the other favourite went 4 hours, 6 was 3 wide, 4 wide for 600 metres in a crazy lead time, and it got beat. Whereas if you drew the back row and could be used out of the gate, it still would have won the race. And I think a lot of the problem with our racing is no matter what distance, they all come out of the gate as hard as they can in the first turn.
A lot of
my best phrase is the easiest way not to get fired off a good horse is leave the gate. If you leave the gate, owners and trainers, not all trainers, but they think you're trying. So if you leave hard, like I give that horse a shot.
Is that one of the challenges for you both? Like trainers expect those certain things. I'm sure both you, like I know Chris drives for a lot of high-profile stables. Is that one of the issues?
The good trainers, they trust you. You might be 4th, 5th, but they know at the end of the year that horse is going to make more money with you, and you're looking out for the horse. But some owners and trainers, they want to win this week, no matter what the purse is. So I'm sure Chris is the same as me. You got to treat each individual differently, and do your job the best you can.
Is that right, Christopher?
Yeah, no, pretty much spot on. Some trainers, as Timmy said, they just want to win and don't care about next week, where others want to look after the horse and worry about bigger races.
Do you go out with a different style when you're driving for those people then? Like the ones that do just want to win, do you try to just win and drive maybe against your better judgment?
Well, depends what mood I'm in.
That was a yes, Paul. That's a yes, Paul.
he can be in funny. He can be in funny mood.
I always try to drive every horse like I own them and treat them like I own them and do what's best for the horse. And I've been fired for that, and I've been hired way more times because I treat the horse like I own it. And that's just how my mentality is. And try to drive that horse like I own that horse. I own 5% of every horse I drive, and you guys own more. But for me, I own 5% of every horse I get behind. So if I'm 80-1, I'm trying to be 4th and 5th. When I'm 2 to 5-1, I try to win. Which I try to win every race, but you got to be realistic.
I've had this discussion with Chris a couple of times, like getting sacked from big stables. Does it affect you, Tim? Like, does that change the way that you might go about your races at a certain time? Like, if a big stable does say, listen, you know, you're not driving the way we want you to, and put someone else on for a while, does that affect what you do in each race?
Well, I'd be a liar if I said it didn't, but yeah, it does. You know, like if you get fired for not doing your job good enough, it's going to affect you. I don't care if you're carrying the mail or you're, you know, just cleaning stalls. When I cleaned the stall and my dad got mad at me, I didn't clean it good enough, I felt bad about it. You know, same way with driving horses. I want to please everybody.
Yeah.
You know, I want to drive a horse as best of my ability and win races, and there's horses that I just don't get along with. You know, but as a group, if I got fired from a big stable, like Chris knows I drive a lot for Linda Toscano, and if she fired me, yeah, for a couple of days, I'd take it home and, you know, be hurt about it. But on the other shoe, I would get mad, and I'd be like, all right, you want to fire me? Then I'm going to beat you with somebody else's horse. You know, like I would get mad and I would beat you. Some way or another, I'm going to get my money somehow. And
I know, Chris, like you're in a similar boat, because we have had the discussion that you've been sacked by many stables and you still end up back driving for them and all the rest. You do take it nicely, I suppose, Chris. You just do much the same as what Tim said then. You just try and win the next race, don't you?
Yeah, that's true. And so you may get sacked if you go the wrong way and hurt about it. The wheel always turns, and most times they come back to you when the next drivers aren't doing as good a job.
Yeah.
I have a good friend, and he's a driver also, and he always tells me, says, Tim, it's like the alphabet. They will get back to the T's sooner or later. When they fire you, the alphabet works in the circle. They will get back to Tim Tetrick again. They will need you.
Well, he's got an advantage because his surname starts with A, so he's at the top of the alphabet, so he gets back there a bit quicker than you do, Timmy.
True, yeah. But he said, I've been fired more times than anybody, and he's an older guy. You know, he's went over 20,000 races, or 18,000 races, and he says, the alphabet works in a circle. They will get back around to that A, you know, or T, or whatever it is.
It is an interesting thing. What was one of the more unusual things you found about Australian racing, Timmy, when you were out here?
Well, I guess for me it was the
Timmy loved the push-out rule.
What's that, Chris?
You loved the push-out rule.
Oh, I did like the push-out rule. You know what was crazy for me? Because you guys have more slender bikes and the longer bikes. And I remember sitting in a hole, and I think it was Chris or somebody come up next to me. I'm like, man, that horse is so close. You could just push him off of you. You know, you could push him off. And what made it hard for me is the different programs. Like, you know, I couldn't read your program. I'm a big program reader, and I read stats, and you know, like, I don't always follow every race because we have races in Buffalo, New York or Yonkers Raceway, and Chester and Pocono, and there's just no way I can follow a horse that races all those different tracks. But I can read the program and see his last 6-7 lines, and they can tell me if he leaves the gate. You know, it's charted different, right, Chris? Like, when I was over there for the World Driving Championship, it showed what post you started with and where you finished. You know, and it didn't tell you how far off the quarter you were, the half, the 3/8, the 5/8. It didn't tell you all the different, you know, how many lengths you were off. Because I'm a big, I love reading stats, you know, like, you know, past performance lines and stuff. And, you know, that was kind of different. And you guys always race different distances. And we don't do that much here. We might race, you know, a few different distance races, but I'm more of a mile kind of driver. But when I went over there, and when we were at Wagga Wagga, and it's a half-mile track, and it's 3 or 4 laps. I didn't know when the last lap was until I heard the bell. Thank God for the bell lap. Otherwise, I didn't know it was the last lap.
Do you not have a bell in America?
No bell lap, no. I can count to 2 and I can count to 1, so I'm good. We don't need a bell lap in the U.S.
Well, is it Wavell, pup? We don't want to send him to Wavell, that's for sure. I think it was 600 metres around or something like that, Wavell was. It just keeps going round and round. What was the most unusual thing you had to explain to them, Chris, when they were out here? Maybe that push-out rule.
Going But they all got the hang of it pretty quick.
Jody already knew it.
Jody liked it. He thought it was pretty much fun. But yeah, like racing's racing everywhere you go. And as Tim said, like with the program or race book, when I go to New Zealand, I have no idea what their books tell you. They just have like 7th of 9 and that's it. Well, it's too hard to work it out.
Could be a way that we could make harness racing a better viewing product worldwide, is if we had a simplistic or similar form guide worldwide.
Yeah, I agree, but Europe's the same way.
Yeah.
Like, Europe's the same way. They have, just like in Australia, New Zealand, there's not much history there. Like in the past performances. So
that could be one of the issues for people trying to do their form tomorrow with a lot of these horses going along. Chris, you were saying there before that you'd lost his hat. You guys still keep in touch? You were having a fair bit of good banter there before. One thing about harness racing, it is a small world, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. Like I text Timmy on Twitter or something like that when I see he's got a big race. And as I said, he rang me a couple of years back, said, "Oh, I've got a phone call about this horse. Don't know if you'll buy it." I said, what was it? He told me. I said, "Mate, you buy this one, it'll be good." Turned out to be Chartin, the horse he drives.
She's a superstar too, best mare in the world.
She's been just an unreal story.
Yeah,
best mare. So it's good that you do keep up. Chris, are you going to go to America? You're going to go over there and hopefully, like at the other side, go there for a few weeks at least and do a bit of driving?
I wouldn't mind. I went to Delaware and caught up with Timmy and that at the Giant. It was great. I had a couple of drives there. Yeah, I'd love to just go to the Meadowlands and watch the races one night. That's always been my ambition, just to even just go there. Have to wait till they start racing again.
Be awesome just to watch him over there. And I must say, for anyone that wants to watch Timmy Tetrick and Jody, Jody Jamieson, that is, they're great people because they're in the Australian colours, Chris. They're actually very parochial for us, aren't they?
Yeah, they're nice green and yellow.
What's with the shamrocks, Timmy? Have you got a bit of Irish in you?
No, it's just a 4-leaf clover. I get all the luck I can get, so I try to adapt everything I can get for luck.
Does it work?
Something's working. I'm not changing. Something's working good, so I'm not changing it. I've had this hat for like 12 years.
Had the yellow wristband.
And the yellow wristband. Oh yeah.
Is it?
My younger brother Trace, which he drives horses also. He gave me this hat for Christmas about 12 years ago. So it's kind of special. It's my lucky hat.
It's your lucky hat. All right, boys. Thank you very much for having a little bit of a chat. Hopefully, people have enjoyed it. It's just because we're in lockdown, it makes it a bit easier. I mean, you would have been off driving, Timmy, I'd imagine, and Chris definitely would have been too busy to sit down for 20 minutes. I must say, I really appreciate the time you guys are giving me.
Anytime, Paul. I'm happy to do it. And hey, Chris, give Allison a hug for me.
Yes, Kim.
Give Allison a hug for me.
Will you, mate?
Very good. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you very much for your time.
See you, Paul.